Hi, I'm Stu Kagan, and welcome to Born Scrappy, the podcast for scrap metal exporters and traders. Join me in conversation with some of the most experienced traders and operators that have helped shape this incredible industry. In today's episode, I'm chatting with Andrew Lincoln, the co owner of Lincoln Metals. Other than running a great business, Andrew is also very involved in ReMA and plays a huge role in putting on the Great Lakes annual event, which I'm super excited to attend again in August. Andrew, aka The Accountant, is best known for his role in Table Scraps on YouTube TV, which is a show all about daylight robbery. And spoiler alert, he plays the lead role, escaping with the loot. In this week's episode, we chat about having a fail fast philosophy, weight estimation pitfalls, why small gestures matter, capturing relationship data, and so much more. So let's jump into it with the 27th best chef in the scrap industry, Andrew Lincoln. But first, intro. Hey, Andrew, how are you?
I'm great, Stu. How are you?
Yeah, I'm awesome. I just threw a little spanner at you, a little curveball just before we came on air. So this is going to be really exciting. We've got 45 minutes to
I'm
talk
ready.
about
I'm ready.
now about cooking and how you basically stole that award from us just the other day. But before we get too much into the fun stuff, Andrew, tell us a little bit about how you got into metal recycling. What Lincoln Metals does, who you guys are, how long you've been around for.
Sure. Well, I got involved, I would say, when I was probably 7 or 8. I would come with my dad on the weekends, and he would let me pick up a sledgehammer and break aluminum casts, the old grills. And I kind of would just kind of see what he would do and meet customers and people. And as I got older, I worked numerous jobs. I was a lifeguard. I sold Cutco cutlery. And when I was driving our can truck for my dad, and worked numerous jobs and went to college. And it was after college, I was in grad school, and I was talking to my dad. I was living in Boston, Massachusetts, and he approached me if I was interested in coming back in the business. And I'd given it some thought. Originally, I did not have interest in it. I was in my 20s. I was loving the Boston life, but work wise, I wasn't feeling the urge or the love for it, and I decided to make a switch. So after I finished my MBA, I quit my work. I worked at a Fortune 100 insurance company, and I packed up back for Erie, Pennsylvania, and that's when I say I got my scrap MBA. So
Yeah.
I, immediately went from my first job. I didn't ever really work under my dad. We have another yard, and I worked under the general manager of that facility, and so I learned how to torch steel. I got my CDL. I really wanted to learn what all my employees do and touch every day, so I could understand the time it takes to process metal and the difficulty some metals have over others.
You have to, man. I mean, that's the best way to do it. And now it's put you in such good stead to be able to, see what's going on the scale, know the grading, steal a trophy away from other teams when you're in a cooking show. I mean, really, you learned right from the beginning how to really how to be a metal recycler. So I want to just touch on it quickly because for those of you that haven't seen Table Scraps, Andrew Lincoln, his team, which I mean, it fell apart. They couldn't even put a whole team together for the actual event because some of them were just knew that they wouldn't be able to perform. So I think Mike pulled out. They ended up coming to the event. They ended up winning the award, but I think it was because John Sacco felt a bit bad because they had been there before, or either that or there was some form of bribery because they basically just cooked blueberries which you can buy at the store. I mean, I'm not sure if you know, but You could have just gone to the grocery store and bought some blueberries if that was what you were going to serve.
Hey, at least Alt and I were cooking, Stu. I don't know what you were doing. You were orchestrating. You were like the conductor of the
I mean, I would
international
say I
team.
was like the chairman or the CEO. You can call it a conductor, but I put the team together, and we deserved to win, but we were robbed. There was another team there. I can't remember who they were, but there was like another team hanging out and drinking. They made some salty food. I don't remember who they were, but there was another team there. And apparently next year is in Italy. No pressure, John. But Table Scraps will be hosted in Italy, sponsored by Sierra, right?
Sounds good. I think my schedule will be open. So
Great. Okay, so confirmed by Andrew Lincoln. So if John asked, Andrew Lincoln told you that it was going to be fully paid for by Sierra in Italy. And only the top two teams of the last three will be attending. So sorry for that barbecue team, but we'll be going with you guys. Let's maybe go back into, I mean, a bit of scrap. I mean, we can talk cooking all day, and maybe table tennis we'll talk about as well, because I think you lost every game against me when we were there. But let's not get into that right away.
Oh, not true. We call it ping pong here in the States.
Oh, okay.
Stu.
Sorry.
Remember where you are now, okay?
Yeah, you lost
where
that.
You been?
You lost that sport as well. So you lost ping pong and table tennis against me. Can you think of, when we think about metal recycling, in fact, just recently, I'm getting messages from people that are really thankful for putting Born Scrappy out and helping the next generation, the younger crew coming in. And I've just hired this incredible weapon of a youngster who's come in, who was like involved in the ReMA scene and that. And he's also reached out to me earlier on about how much value they get when people tell stories on Born Scrappy and kind of like what really molded them. So can you think of an experience in like trading, whether you were buying or selling, that had a significant effect on your operations going forward?
Oh, great question. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, that was really formative. So I came back into the business in 2006. And during that time, my brother was president of the Pittsburgh chapter. And that's how I got involved in Israel ReMA. But if you recall, markets during that time to 2008, I mean, it was just, an upward trajectory. And
even you could make money in those days, right?
Exactly. Everyone could make money. And metal was just coming in, and everyone was living high off the hog. And I would joke, we would go to our association meetings and everyone's like, business is great. Business is great. Mm-hmm. And it was 2008 leading up to that, we had a competitor come into our region. And my dad just, I'm 2 years in. My dad told me, pack up your bags. You're going to go over and open up a yard of your own, like right in their backyard. And that's what I did. And, lucky he allowed me to make every decision, whether it was a good one or a bad one. But you quickly learn from your mistakes. And, I did the yard layout. I mean, this was a small little feeder yard, but from the ground up, it was a really big teaching moment for me. And, one takeaway from my dad was, it's okay to fail, just fail fast and then get over it and move on. So you can't just dwell on it, or it's just going to bring the company down or make you indecisive. So that was a big teaching moment for me in being able to do that.
Was there something in particular, because that's more a general going into your own yard? Is there something where you feel that maybe you made a mistake? So was the yard layout a great success? What did you learn from that? Did you put things in the wrong place, or as an example?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I mean, if I were to look back at it, I would just focus on, I like to call it the cream of the milk. It would be the non-ferrous metals. Looking at it, if you're setting up a new operation, there's a lot more capital required and land to handle the ferrous side of things. And then you have, obviously regulations around that, OSHA, EPA. So, finding a warehouse and opening up in a couple of weeks or so forth is not that difficult in warehousing material inside. So I would have changed that layout a little bit there for that facility than rather try to be, everything to everyone. And another teaching moment for me, just a small demo that we were involved in. And this is early on in my career, and just, being pressured to buy material from the seller without an estimate on weight and using my knowledge. I should have gone to other individuals, my brother, our GM, to kind of verify the weight that I thought was there, because unfortunately, with some of these deals, they like to be paid out first, and then any overage, you're paying them for the additional tons. And luckily, it was not a big job, but I overestimated, and so just learned not to purchase material that way. And we don't do that today.
So it's interesting. You pay them for the overage, but you definitely don't get money back for the shortage. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah. It's very
yeah.
much a one-way door. This is
Oh,
like,
it always feels that way, Stu.
I mean, that's happened to me so many times. You think like once bitten, twice shy, or you should be learning from your lessons, but you carry on doing it. Like, I mean, you go into a demolition site, you get really excited. Everything looks bigger than when it's cut to size, and that's the one tip that I'll tell everybody is like when you see these huge structures, don't go, "Wow, these structures are huge. They must be massive tonnage." Just ask yourself what this looks like if it was cut up into size in a pile and you were delivering it to the local mill. It very quickly can become a few truckloads, not 100,000 tons. Um,
Yeah, well said. I mean, I honestly, that's kind of how I picture things too when I go
mm.
walk through sites. Like you said, I try to picture them, process what would this look like, and yeah, your estimates come down, by a good
and
margin.
and the demo boys lick their lips when they see a youngster from the insurance industry coming and saying, "Hey, I'll pay you a lump sum," and they'll be walking around and they probably told you on the spot that's at least 500 metric tons, and that how heavy that is. I mean, I've been there when the demo boys are just telling you, how heavy everything is. So one of the other things we used to do a lot was we used to take three of us if there was a big parcel or a big project. Take three of us on site. We weren't allowed to talk to each other. We had to do the entire site, and then we would come back and use the average, no matter what. Like three people with experience, use the average,
Yeah,
because one's going to be higher. And we found that worked the best if there's a big project that you have to pay a lump sum for. So hopefully that helps
that's a good
somebody.
method.
Yeah, yeah. We found it worked. It was a lot better than when I was the only one buying and losing money for the company. So
Also, the demo guys love to stack their prepared piles on top of dirt, so it
yeah,
makes it
yeah.
look bigger.
On a mound. So there's a mound, and they're like, "Look, we've
Yeah,
already processed." And this was only one small little piece of the structure. And look how big the pile is that it produced, right? And there is so much cable inside that machine. It's like, yeah, we can go on for days on that. Just before we started, you were talking about having an incident on the sell side for you lately. And the markets are absolutely, I think the PC way is to call it volatile at the moment, right? Pretty scary right now.
very.
Um, you know, how do you choose who you're selling to? Relationships are important, price is important, proximity is important, all the payment terms are important. What's your priority, I guess, when you're selling?
Uh, Priority one, I would say, is being a consistent buyer, that consumer. So I really, I focus on where are the largest volumes that we move. What grades are we selling the most, and are we a consistent supplier of? And those are the relationships I work on, the most. And those are your standard, your turning MSTs, your cut grades, and prime bushling. So and it's really, I mean, we ship to directly to all the mills, within a 400-mile radius of our yards, which is feasible for us for trucking. In payment terms, it's a relationship, and the payment terms are part of that. So I I really am looking for consumers that are going to be in the market every month, whether it's good or bad. And Lincoln Recycling is going to be in those markets too. And we'll supply you material when markets aren't so great, and maybe we don't want to sell that much, but it's about the relationship on both ends. Because we need each other to survive, and that's important. So I mean, that's kind of my hierarchy of where I
Yeah,
look
yeah,
at it. And
yeah.
I'll rely a lot on brokers as well, because there may be some grades that I'm not in the market every month, and we may get some manganese or some a weird off alloy with some nickel in it. So I use the relationships that I've developed through the Pittsburgh chapter of ReMA, and those are very valuable too because right now the market just finished up here. We're the 8th of May. But I'm only talking to 2, 3 mills and I'm not a big hitter for them. So I really talk to the other brokers or so forth to find out what they're hearing and kind of understand more about the dynamics of what's going on, in the whole Great Lakes region and where scrap is flowing from. And this month, Turkey was very weak, the export market. So we have a lot of scrap moving inland from the coast. So,
And it looks like that might change. It looks like the domestic mills are going to drop, but Turkey seems to be hungry again. So
yeah.
I think it's all over the place. The more material that comes into the inland mills, the more they'll drop their price. Less goes to Turkey, the more they'll increase their price. So it's just global economics at the moment. And I think REMA will be quite interesting. There's a lot of really good talks that are going to go down to really understand, I guess, the global context of it all. But in order to sell this material, you have to be buying it. So have you got buyers on the street that are seeing industrial accounts? How do you strategically focus on getting more in the door? Are you doing marketing? Just the whole range of what is your strategy behind bringing metal in the door?
Well, it really evolves around my brother and I. I mean, we're a very lean organization. So my brother Jeremy, he and I are 50-50 owners now of Lincoln Recycling. We just recently brought in an account executive to kind of help just, as it's a revolving door with some of the accounts regarding personnel and names changes of who's the operations manager or who's calling in the boxes. So it's just really important for us to always know, who the names are at the accounts and just stop in and just, you won't have any idea how far just, a box of donuts go stopping in, just saying hi to someone. And you know what? And you have no initiative just to check in and see how they're doing. So there's no sale we're just trying to make sure that we're getting all the feedback from them on how we're doing as a company servicing them. Because that's where I think our priority is. It's all about the customer service and getting them exactly what they need, getting them payments when they want them, and we can customize it for each account for what their needs are.
It's quite interesting because there's a lot of businesses out there that have bins on site servicing customers like you are, and don't necessarily have account people out there looking after them, or themselves aren't actually going out and visiting all the time. There's nothing worse than getting that email, because usually they don't even like to phone, but the email says, please remove your bin, right? Because somebody else is now going to go look after them. But to me, it's like you've shot yourself in the foot. You've only got yourself to blame, because if you weren't there and you literally didn't have any idea they were unhappy about something, like, how can you blame them? They're running a business. They want the best price. They want the best service. If you're not giving them that and you're not aware of it, like, you deserve to lose the business. And we're not in the 1920s. Like, we're not the only metal recycler in town. There is competition. And if you want to look after your customer, if you want to keep getting from your customers, customer experience, customer service has to be the number one thing that you speak about. So having an account executive now is going to be great for your business.
Yeah, it's already paying dividends, and he's very experienced. He's had his own family business in recycling, and we've actually competed against him years ago. So
Awesome.
It's kind of nice. He thinks like we think, so I'm not having to take someone and teach them everything. It's just more of kind of guiding him about what our principles are, and we stand behind our service. So something that you said, it's very important, I think, to get out in front of the accounts, and it is very hard to hit them all because our top 10, we're hitting, we're seeing, we're touching, we know each other very well. It's the ones where you may only pick up the container once every 3 months, and those are frustrating to lose because you feel like you didn't do anything wrong, but the fact is that they didn't feel that they were important to you. So always stop and say hi.
But
So
Andrew,
oftentimes when I live in Erie and I'm driving to my Meadville yard, I try not to take the highway, and I take the rural routes where I got 4 accounts on this route. I got 3 on this one, and just stop and say hi, check in, anything you need. Nope.
Yeah.
Okay. Move on to the next one.
And it's so powerful. Like, how many times have I checked in on a customer and they happen to have a demolition project coming up? And they weren't even thinking about us because, well, that's not the service we offer. And then I'm like, well, hold on, we have a cutting team. We can literally come on site. Plus, like, it's going to
Yeah.
come to us anyway. We might as well do the project, right? It's a great way of building a relationship and showing you can add value. But if you're not in front of your customers, you absolutely have no idea what's going on in their business. You could have somebody else that's been there removing non-ferrous and you're just doing their steel. And it's like, well, what's going on here? Oh, well, we thought you guys just did steel for us. You
Yeah,
know?
that well said. That's the most frustrating thing when you go in and they say, "Oh, I didn't realize you did that," and you're like, "What?
Yeah,
It's
like how,
metal.
but you
It's
have to
metal.
blame
Why didn't you
yourself,
call
right?
me?"
You have to blame yourself because it's like we haven't taught them or spent enough time with them. Like, if anybody wants any sort of tips, it's a basic CRM system. I recommend every metal recycling company should have one. All it does is it has the information of the customers. You can track when you last visited them. You can pull different filters. You're able to actually analyze, all the detail about that customer. You can then see, and if somebody does leave, say you have an account executive and they leave, it's like, oh shit, I don't know when we last visited this guy. I don't know anything about this customer because you became reliant on your account executive. Like, it's very important they use that as a tool to superpower themselves, but it also gives you the assistance of a key person risk. If that guy leaves, like, well, at least you know all the data on your customer. Not only because people might go, well, it's in my software system. But I don't
Mm.
like that term because that CRM system is a software system. They talk about the inventory system, but like your inventory, yeah, it doesn't have that detail. It doesn't know when you last visited. It doesn't, it doesn't have any idea of who the different contacts are, all that information that you want. What the lady in the front's name is. Every time you walk in, like, get her name. It goes a long way. Like, know who the
It
guy is
does.
filling your bin. Learn his name. You walk in there and when he doesn't want to get rid of you because you give him a box of donuts once a month. Like, these things go a long way. So, look, I can talk about that for days. It was a passion of mine. In South Africa, there was literally within 1 month, we hired 75 reps and the account executives. And the reason why we did that, we had the entire market in South Africa for a long time. 85 yards. We pretty much had yards in every town. And all of a sudden, overnight, all the dealers that were supplying us the material, because we were doing all the bulk vessels, all of a sudden they literally moved over from India, started opening up businesses, and they started putting containers in the dealers' yards. So instead of us collecting, they were now paying. For the first time ever, we had to look after our dealers. Like, previously, we just said, here's your monthly ferrous price and here's your non-ferrous list weekly. All of a sudden, we
Mm-hmm.
had to hire a whole bunch of reps to do that. So we stood up a CRM system. I hired a head of all of them who kind of managed the team. But that's at the one end of the scale. The other end is just know who every single customer is. Have a list of every single container that you have at every single, what their names are. If you know what their hobbies are, that's even better. Like, buy them a Christmas
Yeah.
present. Like, anyway,
Yeah. You know what sports their kids play. Then
absolutely.
you're in deep.
So you look at this, right? We're a relationship industry. Like, there is absolutely no question in anybody's mind that that's what we're all about. But often we forget things about that. So we're like, yeah, we're a relationship. Well, why don't you know enough about their kids? And if you know about it, document it. So that next time there's some game on or something, like, sponsor the kids' team. Like, do those sort of things. But your account executives, like we said earlier, they can leave. But not just that, Andrew, when it was you and your brother, you might have 200 customers. You can't remember every single one's kid's name and their favorite sport. So you have it in a system and you're driving into somewhere, you click on them, you're like, oh shit, yeah, Johnny loves baseball. Cool. You walk in there, you're like, hey, how's Johnny's baseball?
Yeah, no,
Anyway,
it's helpful.
yeah.
So that's actually the next thing we're looking at once we get back from convention here in the summer, and we use an ERM system for our purchasing,
Mm.
shared logic, ReMA, and it's very adequate for us. But as far as capturing all the data on the customer side, and like you said, touch points.
That's what it's all about. Um, Over the years, you've now got an account executive. You've employed multiple people, good and bad. how do you keep them? How do you get them to stay at you? I keep seeing those barbecue guys, that company, I think it was Alta, I can't remember their name, and they keep having people at like 50 years celebrating their 50-year anniversary with the company. Like that's a phenomenal feat, and it tells me a lot about the culture. What do you guys do to keep your people?
Great question. We try to be very family focused and understanding. So I mean, I would say Jeremy and I, we noticed we were kind of behind the times during COVID. Um, it was very difficult then retaining employees and so forth. But we're very understanding of time for being away with family, doctor's appointments, kids appointments. So, just we just ask, give us notice and let us know. If you need to take a day here or there, it's fine. We don't judge. And, I have the same issue with my kids and my family and sickness going around with everyone. So, that's one thing. And, another item we did was we increased our vacation for tenured employees. So the standard we have is, after a year, you get a week's vacation. After two, it was 2 weeks, and that was just the cap. So we implemented all employees that were with us for 5+ years. They get 3 weeks of vacation. Obviously during COVID, we all saw wages go way up for everyone just because of the shortage in the labor pool. So we've just been much more proactive, getting everyone to what we feel is a competitive hourly or salary rate, and then reviewing it annually with them and doing an adjustment for them. So, when we look back at it, we're about 65 to 70 employees right now, and we have over a half of them are getting the 3 weeks vacation, and our average tenure is right around 7 years of employment with us. So, I think that says a lot. I don't know where the industry is, but as you know, the hardest part I see is the new hire, and then getting them to stay, in that first 3 months, getting them trained,
Yeah.
And sticking with you.
I'll jump in here. We're talking about people and the importance of looking after them. You gave examples of medical, they need to go to see doctors, their family need to go see doctors. One of the big things that we had in New Zealand was we have to treat our people as people, because often we go, when our kid's sick, everything must drop, right? You drop everything, you get to it, got to take it. But as soon as one of your team members have that, it's all of a sudden looked in a different light. So we try to trust first, right? And it's all about intent for me. So what is your intention? Is your intention to go look after your family, or is your intention to take a day off and try and sneak some extra leave? If we can work that out, but first we say that your intention is good. That's how we trust you first until you break that. And as soon as it's like, oh, you said you went off, but in New Zealand, everybody goes fishing all the time. So it's like, oh, you said your kid was sick, but one of my friends saw you fishing at the dock. It's like, not sure if I'm going to trust you as much anymore. But then on the other end of the spectrum, what might blow your mind is that Buddy, my company, has unlimited vacation days. So our team have unlimited leave, right? Now, it's not really doable in yards. It's not doable. I wouldn't recommend this for metal recyclers. But in a tech company, we value our team based on output and the value that they bring to the company. So I don't monitor if somebody works 8 or 9 hours in the day. I monitor what their output was in the day or in the week or in the month. So if somebody wants to keep taking Fridays off or take every Friday and Monday off, I don't really care. But if they're coding, they're an engineer, I expect them to be keeping up and making sure that every single 2-week sprint, which is a period that we code over, or whatever your targets are over every period, I expect you to be hitting those. If you're hitting those, I don't care if you come in one day in the 2 weeks, right? Like if you can outperform our targets, that's fantastic. So that's not a recommendation for metal recyclers. Absolutely not. You can't do that. But just kind of was mind-blowing for me coming from the metal recycling world when I saw that there were tech companies doing something like this. So we're trialing it. I'm like very hesitant myself because I come from a different industry. I expect no one's going to pitch up for work on Monday. That's kind of like,
Yeah. No, it's tough. Everyone, like, I mean, my brother and I are not often sick, but, we probably not the best. If we are under the weather, if we're not feeling that bad, we'll still come in and see what's going on. It's in our blood. It's what we saw in our father. So, we
because
have
you now
loosened
expect
up.
that of others. You now expect that
Yeah.
of others. And that's what, I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk always talks about. You can't expect your employees to behave like owners. It's a completely different mindset. So if somebody is sick, if you own 50% of your company, you can get out of bed, you're going to go to work. Like I've had that, for the last 9 years or whatever it is. But if you're an employee, it's like, you know what, I'm not feeling well right now. Actually, it's not worth me getting up right now. I'm going to call in a day.
Mhm.
Hard to paint both those two parties with the same brush, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we have about 4 employees that work remotely. So, I mean, for give certain positions,
Mm.
they can log in. Our dispatcher can work out of any of our offices or out of her house. So, um, and we see
How
that.
does the rest of the team like that?
Uh, you know, I, the team seems fine with it. It was
Mm.
probably more my brother Jeremy and I had to get
Okay.
used to it. But I mean, we see the emails coming in through the dispatch email, which we're carbon copied on, and we see the responses going right back out.
That's awesome.
So it's working, and the customers are not seeing any hiccups. Our non-ferrous trader works remotely and can log in and see where the inventories are at each yard.
Yep.
And then our controller he likes to work from home or work evenings, or he'll
Mm.
come in the after hours. So, you in today's age where it's really hard to find employees, and the ones we have are very experienced. I wouldn't trade them for another one, and if Jeremy and I can ease that for them and
Mm.
allow it, and we're still seeing the productivity, then we're fine with it.
I asked the question, how does the rest of the yard feel about that? Because we had a serious situation that affected our culture in New Zealand. So post COVID, everybody came back to work, and we still allowed certain office members to stay home 3 or 4 days a week. And there was this animosity created between the yard staff because they felt, and they obviously had to come in because I can't operate a material handler from bed. So it was like this animosity of the yard guys were like, they don't even work anymore. They don't come to work. Therefore, they're not working. Right. And there was this created this huge divide that actually, after a while, we brought the office team back in because the yard were just so disgruntled with the way that it was being handled. So that's why I asked you that. It was an interesting situation we went through. Um, when people don't come to work, everybody else goes, they're not working. So if they're working
Yeah.
from home, people are like, oh, they didn't come to work today, so they're doing nothing. And that's what the experience I had, unfortunately. But when it comes to technology, it allows you now to do all of these things, right? So you've now got your team that can log in and they can see their inventory and all these sort of things. Where do you see that moving? Like, where do you see technology taking us in the next 5 to 10 years? Because things are moving fast.
They are moving fast. I mean, you're seeing it in the downstream technology already. You're seeing any of the companies, they're using AI to better sort the aluminum grades and so forth. We don't process anything like that. We don't have any shredders. So it'll be interesting to see, how we would use AI. I could see it on the software side, helping processors, dealers. I mean, I think about the number of tickets, inbound tickets that I look at or just double check. So it's a big time suck for me to go through and just make sure that, I mean, think about it, all the different commodities we buy across, and if someone just hits the wrong number, it could turn it from steel to stainless.
Mm.
And if I don't double check that ticket before it goes out and gets priced, I mean, that's a huge loss. So I can see AI helping on that. I've heard of some softwares out there that they're looking at, including your cameras on the scale. I mean, we take pictures of everything, right?
Yeah,
Everything
yeah.
we buy has a picture to it. Using AI just to detect if there's something non-conforming in the load. I mean, that would be huge. Or just think about what you mentioned, demo. whenever we have a municipality or a demo and the load comes in, you cringe when you see the blocks or the
Concrete
dirt
and
coming out
yeah,
with the
completely.
steel. And how do you capture that? Really, all of us, it would be too much wasteful of a time for us to load up all the steel, weigh it back out, and see exactly, okay, was that 500 pounds? Was that 5,000 pounds?
Mm.
You know, and I know our operators are there and they got to make just a real time decision. They take pictures. That's even better. We upload it to the ticket so I can show my customer when they see on their check, like, why did I get a deduction for 2,500 pounds?
Mm.
It's our best guess. I mean, I can see AI helping with that. I mean,
Mm.
we had my brother-in-law when he worked for us, his dad actually helped me open up that yard I was talking about in 2008. And when he retired, what he would do is he would get a batch of our daily tickets and he would look at like a threshold amount of, say, anything over $1,000 that we cut a check for that day. He would review scan the tickets for us. So I can see AI doing that and cutting that time in half for you. So I see the industry going that way and just allowing you to focus on other items.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, look, it's moving at such a speed, and even if we are a bit slow to get it, it's coming. It's absolutely
Mm-hmm.
coming. I'm excited at ReMA. By the time this is aired, I will have already done it, but I'll be announcing on stage a huge AI tool that we're bringing into Buddy, which is really exciting. So there'll be less gut feel when trading, and we can give you whole heaps of data at the time of trading. We'll be able to tell you things like, if you're a buyer, how many times you've bought the parcel from this person. So if he's put up 12 listings and you've only been successful twice, we can give you an idea of what percentage you're missing out by on price. So as a buyer, you can now start to look at, all right, I need to be a bit more competitive. This guy's getting better prices. We were able to tell you on that commodity as a buyer, you're not competitive. You're missing out by 7% on average or whatever it might be. So all of a sudden, this data we can feed you at the time of trading, as well as starting to give you things like tell you about relationships in the first time you meet somebody. So, hey, you're a massive 49er fan, and we can actually match you and say you both support 49ers. So the first time he puts up a listing, it actually headlines and it says you're both 49er fans. So now when you're trying to like break the ice with somebody, it's like, hey, like, da-da-da. And we can do that on the trading side because relationships are so important. So there's a whole
That's
lot of,
very cool.
yeah, there's a lot of really
Send
cool
all the
tools.
skiers my way. All right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
done. Absolutely.
but another thing, just I never really used much of it till recently is Chat GPT. I mean, putting forms together to send out to customers to get ahead of these tariffs. If you just form letters, dropping customer data in, and then boom, you got 400 written letters ready to go out. So just things to cut down on the time is for me very helpful.
I mean, I live in ChatGPT. I've got a whole lot of my own GPTs that are being created where I've fed it a huge amount of data. So on certain topics, I mean, I just had a sales meeting with my two new sales guys. We created our own company GPTs so that it's learned from demos that I've done online. We've recorded those demos and now I've taken all the transcriptions, put that into ChatGPT, and now my sales guys can ask it any questions because I've already taught the GPT through all these demos that learned so much. So now they don't have to phone me. They can first ask their GPT to see how
That
I
is
would
great.
answer their question. Yeah. So there's a lot of incredible tools. I mean, Lisa, my wife's talking at a panel in ReMA. So she'll be talking on that. That's really, she's doing her master's in technological futures. That's her game. So I've been thrown into it and I don't have the option. Like every single day is I have to be 1% better when I wake up. It's like she's like at the end of the day, what did you do that made you better? So yeah, that's my life. I sounded sad all of a sudden. That's my life suffering here. No, it's amazing. So we use it as much as possible. I want to ask you very quickly, before we get to finish this up because we're running out of time. Um, what's the best or worst piece of equipment you've ever bought, and has it changed the way you buy equipment going forward?
Oh boy. I would say the worst piece of equipment I ever bought. And I think you really got to look at your operations and not get starstruck by what's out there or what others are doing. So this goes back to probably 2010, around that time frame. We bought a 2 ram non-ferrous baler, and everyone raved about it. And we didn't really have quite the facility to put it in. It was very tight. The conveyor was above ground, which creates another challenging as for loading it. And also, just what you need to think about is the feedstock that you gotta be able to hold, to have a 2 ram baler, because it's not efficient to make a bale of aluminum cans and then switch commodities and then make a bale and then switch commodities. Technology is what you can do, but you really gotta talk to people that own equipment like that. So don't be afraid to talk to friendly faces or other dealers that you're not competitors with. What are the pros and cons? So, I mean, we had that baler for probably 3 years, and then we just realized we didn't have the volume, and our volume was getting there, but we just really didn't have the space to hold that commodity. So, we sold the baler. We actually were able to reuse that conveyor to something that was really useful for us. We took the conveyor and we actually moved it to our Meadville facility, and we have a big warehouse down there, and we have the conveyor coming out of the building, and we hold our aluminum turnings inside, and so we use the conveyor just to dump turnings into dump trucks.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that was another one. That was one I would say highly, that don't be so awestruck of what other people are doing, and sometimes they're not pretty, but they're cheap and effective as downstroke balers. I mean, you can get them used for $6,000. You can buy them new for 12, and you could line 3 of them up, 4 of them up, and you could handle each of your grades however you see fit. So,
And they're great for small operations as well. Like we had a lot of feeder yards, right? And
yeah.
you just stick one in each one because they're so cheap and effective. So that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you just get a massive shear lately?
I did. Yeah.
I mean,
we're loving it.
Was that a good purchase? I thought you would have mentioned that.
It was. We've been using Sierra equipment a long time. My dad knew John's dad and was very close, and I think my dad was one of the first ones to latch on to these mobile balers. And in my dad's lifetime, he probably had, and John would know better, he probably bought 30 of these machines. I mean, we had many of them. We had a mobile recycling operation, baling operation going around. So we would go around with an operator. We would bale at steel mills, big demo jobs. Hurricane Katrina, we were down there for 2 years just baling white goods. So anyway, we have 2 Sierra shears, stationary shears in both our yards, and the one machine we've had for probably 20 plus years. And I can say, I was kind of chomping at the bit, really kind of looking at the machine was getting older, and downtime we were experiencing just because it was an older machine. And then just our volume had grown, and we're doing different things now in our yard. And so it was time for a bigger shear. And we just trusted Sierra. We've had such a great relationship with them as far as, any parts we need, answering the phone when we have a problem, and just working with my operations manager to diagnose what's wrong with the machine. And then if we can't source it or fix it here, the next day the part is getting flown out to us. So, we're about 2 months in now with the new shear, and we're loving life. So
the
piles
best
are
is
getting
the
smaller.
team. The best is the team on the floor when you upsize a shear and they've only ever worked on one before. And when you move up, it's like, oh my God, it takes everything now, right? It's the best. Like, when you move up a shredder, it's like the team always that only have experience on one size. They absolutely love it. They're like, wow, this is amazing. Sorcery. What is this? Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's making the other yard here a little jealous.
Jealous, I'm sure.
We may.
You might have to get a second.
There may be another one here.
Yeah, I'm sure that excites John a bit. Who do you want to hear next on Born Scrappy?
Oh, great question. Well, you didn't get to meet him during Table Scraps 2. Is Michael Scheibaugh. I met him out for the first season. Great guy, great operator. Um, Probably a better cook than me. I know it's hard to believe.
Oh, that is actually impressive. That is really impressive.
But
Would he
great,
put
great
sugar
guy.
in his? Would he remember to put sugar in his dessert though? That's the question.
Oof.
Too soon. Too soon.
Too
Sorry.
soon. Too soon.
Sorry.
I have a
Sorry.
surprise for you
Oh,
in San Diego. So just wait, Stu.
I'm excited.
So,
Okay, let's find out. Andrew, I want to just ask you before we go.
sure.
Your just to get to know you a little bit more. Your favorite TV series or movie?
Hmm. I'd have to go with it's been a while. Breaking Bad. I thought that was just an amazing, super long series. Succession, I really liked on HBO, and just one my wife just recently she and I watched was The White Lotus, which is intense but short. Awesome.
Yeah, I love Succession. Billions also was similar to Succession that I absolutely love. Favorite place to visit?
Ooh. Croatia. My wife and I went there 2 years ago. Just
Take
beautiful.
a yacht around or not?
We toured around on a boat. So we started up in Split in the northern part, and we sailed down to Dubrovnik, and then hit the islands coming back. And one I would have never have gone. Just last summer, my mom took my brother, sister, and I was to Vilnius, Lithuania. And that's where my mom's roots are from. And,
my grandparents are from Vilnius.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
We could be cousins.
City. Yeah. Except my mom, she felt we needed to spend 5 days there. It's not a big city. You can see everything in like 2. Wow. So I would, in the summertime, you have like 18 hours of daylight, and everyone's out and about. They're loving life, great food. So if I would do it again with my family, I'd love to hit Vilnius and then go see the other capitals in Estonia. And
I don't know if I want to go to Vilnius. I have this like idea in my head that there's just like thousands of people like me, that they're like exactly like me. It's like a town that my grandparents are from. It's like little Hobbiton. It's like little hobbits running around and like.
Yeah, but Stu, when I went, everyone was tall, and I was like, "What's going on here?"
Maybe they got rid of only the short people were told to leave.
The short people made it to the States. I don't get
it. Oh, man. All right, last 2. What's your favorite book?
Oh, boy. I wish I should read more. I'm reading right now, Fraction. So I'm into, improving my business. I feel like I'm right in that time of my life. I want to make things as best I can for the next generation. So great book. I'm halfway through it. I recommend it.
And have you got a favorite quote?
Well, I said the one like to you earlier. If you're gonna fail, fail fast. I learned that from my dad. And probably the other one, I coach ski racing. It's my passion. I pass it on to my kids. And just I think in any sport, I would say hard work beats talent when talent doesn't want to work.
Man, I tell my kid that every day. So that is spot on. Andrew, this has been great. I've loved this recording. I'm looking forward to catching up with you next week. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, I can't wait to see you, Stu. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers, Andrew. Bye.
Cheers.